Welcome to Fans International. We have Nick, Panathafan, and myself. We've got this week discussing Maccabi Haifa. We've got Atromitos. We've got the preview of the derby, miscellaneous, a couple of questions from social media, and finish on basketball. Welcome, boys. How's everyone?
Very good,
How are
Sterg.
we? Yeah,
Good
not
to
bad.
be here again.
Yep, we're back. We love it. We love our team more. So let's get straight into it. Maccabi Haifa. So I think on our last podcast, we were pretty optimistic for a win. I think when we saw, especially the squad list that Maccabi Haifa put out, wasn't their full strength. They rested their best striker with a focus on the league, and and their captain as well. The result finished 0-0 in a what was, I found, disappointing game. Let's start things off. How did you guys find the game?
Go Panathafan.
I think I may have said this to you boys in the chat during the game. That for me is probably the worst game I've seen Panathinaikos play under Ivan as coach. And it was, I think it was very lucky to come away with a draw, considering the chances that Maccabi had. Although one will say in the end, we should have probably created a decent chance and scored in the last few minutes. But yeah, I was very disappointed in terms of the way we played. Getting a draw away in Europe, you're always going to take that. We're always going to welcome that, no matter how weak or otherwise we see the opposition. Maccabi's not exactly a pushover team, so I think getting a draw is a good result away. But I was very disappointed with the way we played, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you boys as to the reasons why and some of the observations about different players.
How about you?
I'm with you in what you said. It's our worst performance under Jovanovic, because if we're going performance-wise, like results-wise, we've had worse. You think, cast your mind back to his first season. That first half of that first season, there were some shocking results. But looking back on it now in hindsight, you can definitely forgive it because of not only what he's achieved, but it was so fresh and raw, and the budget wasn't there. Implementing his ideas, they weren't his players. This time, we played so well against Villarreal. 4 points after 2 games, A+. That's where we want to be. Very good, but it's only the second time all season we've been held scoreless in a game, and it's not like because they defended like Trojans or anything to keep us out. We lost that battle in midfield, and they saw a weakness on our left, and they ruthlessly exposed it. And if it wasn't for Brignoli, that ends 4 or 5-0.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll get on. Like Sturge, I know you were vocal. We all were about Wangard and Vilena. Most of them didn't cover themselves in glory. Other than, for me, Brignoli was our standout man of the match, and that's alarm bells in itself. Aral, that's one thing Jovanovic got spot on, starting Aral ahead of Ruben Perez. And also I thought Bart Shekenveld was okay as well. But other than that, slim pickings. Forty was quiet. The service wasn't the best to him. I just think Vilena said in there. That's where it was lost for us.
Yeah, I'll go into specifics soon. I'll let you
The thing
guys
is,
start off
the
with
thing
the
is,
specifics.
the thing is on that one, Banatha was on the right track. We, even in the first half as well, we weathered the storm well, and you thought we'd grow into it. Jovanovic also waited too late for the subs because, as Banatha said, in injury time, we looked more likely than them to snatch a late winner. There was a chance the ball breaks into the box. Then I think it was Bernard, Zurisic, I can't remember who it was. They just couldn't get that clean contact on it, or they misread the play that was on. There was a big play on. We looked better when Vajanidis also came on with Mladenovic. There was also that penalty appeal that our players as a whole, if they had G'd up and made a scene of it, that would have gone to VAR, and you never know.
It is. I agree. The penalty in the first instance, well, the claim for it, I was like, hang on, definitely, it's worthy of a VAR look. I thought the least ref would have a look at it. Whether they gave it or not, irrelevant. But I thought it was worthy of a look at least. But coming, as result aside and chances missed aside, we all agree that the way we played was not good at all. And I think that, to me, I'll look at it as a team, we were not cohesive. We weren't. It looked like that a team of individuals doing their own individual thing rather than a team that knew what the other player next to them was going to do and that they would be able to work together in one. So if I sort of think about the cup final against Balk a few years ago, a couple of years ago, we were playing as a team in those playoffs and leading up to that cup final. We were so cohesive and working well together. What I saw in the Maccabi game is the opposite. And I think during the game, I must admit, I was critical of Vilena as a player. I was very disappointed as to how he contributed and how he played. But now, after a few days of calming down and reflecting, I think maybe it's a bit harsh on him. I think that maybe his role in that starting 11, what he had to do was maybe not clear, or maybe he wasn't getting the right support from players around him. And I think that even our choice of wingers as well, not having Palacios as a starter as well, probably didn't help the cause either. It was just, and Bernard on the left. Bernard was on the left, wasn't he? If I recall. Just everything just did not work. It was, I can understand the names in the starting 11, but the names in certain positions on that starting 11, like you said, Nick, Cheran and Villan in the midfield, Bernard on the left. Who was on the right again? I can't remember now off the top of my head.
Mancini.
He was quiet, very quiet.
Everyone just didn't seem to work well in the role they had chosen. Even Forti up front just did not seem to work well in the role he had chosen. So that's where the team performance for me was probably at the top of the list of disappointments. And then you got the individual disappointments in terms of players and their what they contribute on the day.
Yeah. Well, Panathinaikos is topping the group on 4 points. Villarreal beat Rennes, I think, 2-0? 1-0?
Wasn't it 1? I swear it was 1 because Rennes had a late penalty as well that they missed to equalise it.
Okay.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't. So, 4-3-3 and Maccabi's on 1. So, let's look at what that means for us. We haven't won still in Europe away since 2009. So that's a bit of a trivia question answer there for you. So it's not ideal to be in that scenario. Nil, I think we'd take that result if you look at the performance. That was really shit, to be honest. Up until the subs were made, I think Jova, I think he tinkers a lot. He likes to tinker positions, players where they play. I think it was too over tinker. We'll start with Bernard. We've been saying it on the left. He's lost. If that was his natural position, it's no more. He's now a 10. He can't play on that left wing. He's just, I don't think he's got that pace to threaten anymore. It looks more better as a ball distributor, more of a creative presence. That's for me where his ideal start is. Seren filled that 10. He was non-existent. I'm sorry, but what you see in other games, and you saw the game change when Juricic came on, when he came into that position, we started playing better. I think we had a proper 10 in there. So I think that Cheran experiment at the 10 was a big fail. Having Cheran in that 10, we saw Mancini not being able to do much because the distribution was woeful. Yanni was chasing the ball. Ioannidis was chasing the ball quite a bit. He had the ball quite a few times. I think he had a really bad stat, or that I read, that the only successful passes were to Bernard as well. I could be wrong. There might be one or two other players, but there was not many successful passes that he had to other players. I think he was just out-bullied, too isolated. And I think, once again, it comes to Cheran being in that attacking mid, that 10 position, where I think he just seemed lost. I will not accept Vilena slander, because if you watch his game, he's not brought in to be the ball player that Cheran is in that 8. He's in that role to do what Gurbelis sort of did and just be a disruptor in that midfield. He works tirelessly. He makes a lot of off-the-run balls, puts a lot of pressure on the players. Like, he's box-to-box. He's a pure box-to-box midfielder, not a ball player, but he puts a lot of pressure. He does a lot of movements where he'll come to the ball and do like a short pass to distributor. He had like a 91% pass accuracy in that game, and that's mainly because those short passes, like, doing that, the little work. You won't see him do anything fantastic. And I think that's what we came to expect of him. Where's that attacking flair? Where's that creative genius? That's not his role. That's not the type of plays. He's there to work tirelessly in that midfield, make those little runs, get the ball, do a short pass, short distribution, and put pressure on their midfield. Aral was a beast. He was the best on-field player. That's excluding Brignoli. He was our best player by far. Bar and Jedvaj did not, they did well. Kotsiras did well. We talked preseason, especially in those Dimpro games where they really targeted Kotsiras. That's changed. He's gone so good holding that position, that right back, where he's defending well and, he's attacking not too bad. So props to Kotsiras. Juanca was easily our worst player. So Terran was probably, for me, our second worst player. Mancini was just ineffective because the ball was just not coming to him. But Juanca was just shocking. Clearances, just getting beaten easy. They started targeting. Most of their threats were coming from that left-hand side. And we were very lucky at times. Like, easy clearances. He was just mucking it around. I think we discussed last week. Him and Ruben might be on their last legs because Aral has now taken on pretty much that Ruben position. It's said in reports that Jova now is preferring Aral in that position. So we could see the end of our two Spaniards. They're both in 33, 34, 35.
Yeah, at least 33 minimum, if not older. Yeah.
They're both, like, I do think Ruben still has a little bit of to offer, but Juanca's decline from the start of the season that he had, especially with Dinpro, where he really came alive, to where he is now. Jesus, it's a huge decline, and I can't see him holding on to that left back spot anymore. Ivan took until 65 minutes to change the game plan. We were getting slaughtered. They had at least 3 big chances. Brignoli was like a beast in almost everything. Villena got a critical stop on their attacking player Cherry, their experienced Dutch player. For that was certain goal. So
Schenkerveld too, goal saving tackle.
So we saw quite a bit strong defense, strong plays. We started really only attacking at the end. For me, that's a clear penalty. How that didn't get referred to VAR, mind-boggling. 1-0 a win, I would have taken it. The result would have been unjust to Maccabi because we were definitely not the better team that game. Maccabi were definitely the better team. It was just disappointing, to be honest. I think overall that performance was bad.
I think the other shocking is, as Panathafan said, our worst performance under Jovanovic in his 2.5 seasons at the helm. I think also we've got to take into account it's been a busy 4 or so weeks with the injuries we've had as well. There's been game after game after game. Like, it's been tiring for us as supporters on the other side of the world trying to keep up and get up to watch the games. But the players that are having to keep playing and playing and playing, that's playing a role in the atmosphere created by the home fans was phenomenal. That must have played a role as well.
Yeah, we did mention that their home fans will be vocal. They're known for being quite vocal, which was a good atmosphere. Props to them. It was a great atmosphere. But yeah, that was a really bad performance.
If I flip it around though, and talk about the positives, and both you boys have mentioned, I think Nick, you called out Vayanivi, who looked good when he came on.
That 1-2.
Yeah, that 1-2 where he created a chance for Bernard. Sturge, I know you touched on Aral as a beast, and I think you're absolutely 100% spot on with that call. I think you've also mentioned Schenkerfeld as well, who I thought played a bit of a Magnuson role in terms of bringing the ball forward at times and trying to actually create a bit more play in the middle of the park. So, let's focus on the positives. And you also mentioned Juricic coming on too as a positive, and I think you continue that form and with the game against Atromitos, which we'll talk about soon. But I'll sort of hang my hat on those individual performances by those players were a highlight, and certainly not all is lost.
Yeah. I think Jova did mention post game that fatigue is starting to take a toll on the team.
International breaks come at a great time. It really has. Palmer Brown's going to be back for the big derby after the international break. The guys that haven't gone on international duty just need to rest up. Rao, I just saw before we jumped on, looks like he's in Santorini. They need it. They need a break.
Yeah, they definitely need to just recharge those batteries. It was good to see Vayanidis back as well. Great kid. I think we called it in the preseason. That's the one kid that's going to shine. But yeah, overall, if you want to talk positives, I think we saw like a few individuals stand up. I think that's the positives that we can take. I think we're really seeing a shift what Ivan will be looking for in terms of where he moves with his starting 11 moving forward. And I think there's still that one position I think there's probably two positions that's up for grabs, and I'm going to say it's the left and right back. The right back is more because we've got actually now two right backs that are fighting and competing very well. The left back, one is not competing as well as the other.
I'm really starting to like Mladenovic a lot.
He's not a natural left back by trade. I think he's just been more in that makeshift. He was more of a wing back, midfield, but he's doing well. He's doing well so far. I think he had a couple of hiccups. I think last week against was it Pauk he started, or he had a couple of hiccups, but I think he's done good.
He's got 3 assists in already for the league, which we're only a few games in. It's pretty good. I'll take that.
We spoke about last time we were on last season 0 assists from left back, right back. This season we're already up to like 7-8 assists in October.
Yep. So he certainly can get those chances created for us. Which as you point out, Nick, it's better than what we've had so far coming out of last season.
Look, 4 points from the 2 games though. That's can't knock that at all. That's exactly where we want to be.
And UEFA still gives us money for the draw.
Yeah, exactly. And now we've spoken about it, I think, last week when we were on as well. It looks like we're just waiting now for the official announcement. It's going to be Leoforos for the 2 games against Ren and Maccabi Haifa.
It looks like it's pretty much all but official that Leoforos will be the home game for Europe. Not too sure if that extends into the knockout rounds. I'm not too sure. But definitely for the rest of the group stage, it's at Leoforos.
If we can our next 2 games are against the French side, Ren, home and away. If we can jag 4 points from those 2 games, that takes us to 8 with 2 games remaining. Then you got Maccabi Haifa at home, win that 11. Villarreal is a free hit.
Yeah, or Maccabi Haifa will be the last game at home.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Which would be a perfect finish.
So there's going to be a lot weighing on that game.
Yeah. If we can get something, what's Leoforos is first for Ren.
Yes. Yeah,
we will. So that's a must win.
So if we get 4 points, that puts us on 8.
That puts us on 8, and it leaves Ren on 4.
4, yeah, with 2 games to go. And if a game at home against Maccabi, you think that we are in the box seat for second, if that was okay.
Correct. Well,
maybe
the box seat for first, yeah.
Maybe even first, depending on the outcome of Villarreal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, I wouldn't automatically assume that Villarreal would win both games against Maccabi.
No, Villarreal is sitting outside of relegation zone in Spain. They lost 2-1 at home to La Palma.
Now, I think we did briefly mention that looks like Maccabi's not going to be playing any more home games as a result of the conflict, which is sad to see.
Yeah.
in saying that though, I think historically the Israeli teams do play in Cyprus.
Yes.
They're their home games. So I wouldn't rule that out as being still a very good home base for them, because they'll still get plenty of support there. It's not far from home. Still dangerous as far as I'm concerned.
Panathinaikos, Cyprus, Gate 13 might even cheer on the Maccabi team. Who knows? They seem to have that little bit of affiliation. I think their fans and our fans are a little bit more friendly towards each other. Not got the affiliation, but I think more friendly, I'd say.
Yeah, they're very respectful to one another. So
They had the banner.
Yes.
13. They remember last year when they beat the Gavri, they were at our shop buying all the Panathinaikos jerseys with 4-0 on the back.
So yeah, let's hope their fans, their players, everything related to that club, they're safe and can continue on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone else? You guys want anything about the game further post match?
no, I'm happy to then continue the discussion on the Atromitos game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Atromitos game. Very weird, very weird. I think we got that early goal. It was Juricic, the header, was it? Yeah.
Yeah. Mladenovic cross.
Yep, Mladenovic assist. I really like that lineup. I think that lineup that we had against Atromitos is almost my ideal starting 11. It's very, very close to what I would hope that we play in, week out. And then the game got boring after that. We just fell asleep and we allowed Atromitos in the game. And I couldn't believe what I was watching. There was just mistakes after mistakes. Lodigan was in goals. I think he did like a 1-2 back pass with Bar, and they almost got the ball off us by like just playing stupid in the back. It was just frustrating to watch. And I've been critical that every time we go up 1-0, we just fall asleep. We just allow teams to just outplay us for some reason.
You're right, and it's 5-0. Doesn't reflect the way the game went, as far as I'm concerned.
The red card was the turning point. After that, it's the second half's a training run. Really, it's not even worth talking about in depth the second half.
It was 3-0 at half time, and we'll talk about the other goals, but it did not look like 3-0. We barely had any chances. We probably had 3 shots for those 3 goals. There was not much created. Second goal came via their mistake. Was that
the second goal was Palacios.
Yes, Palacios. So, it was Palacios. That was
Palacios, and then the penalty.
The penalty at 3-0.
Yeah.
So Sport started. Yeah. So yeah, we capitalized on their error on the back pass. Juricic won the ball from a loose pass in the midfield. Found Palacios on the right. Palacios from the edge of the box buried it into the corner. Left no chance. But we didn't really create. Like, it was just strange to see. But that was a well hit goal by Palacios, who I've been, singing his praises all season. He's been on fire. He's probably been our best winger. I'd expect Mancini to be that kind of player, but Palacios is on fire.
He's probably our player of the season.
So far, I would agree.
We really be up there.
Player of the match was definitely Juricic in this game. Just to the 2 goals, the assist, and then we got the penalty, which was a penalty. It was just stupid. It was just I can't believe the referee didn't call it. He initially yelled "play on" that.
Yeah, he did. You're right, and
he yelled "play on," and I'm just.
And then you look at a replay and it's like, hang on, that was a clear penalty. There's no question about
that was
the foul
a
being
penalty,
created.
and he just called. He said play on. The play build up, I think the fans and the players were just losing it. And then he decides to look at VAR after Atromitos went on the attack and I think maybe close to winning a corner or something. Then VAR calls him back. You can see the player, Acevedo, just clearly like knock out Palacios. Because Palacios was through again. and he just clearly took him out. Then we got the penalty, and I was happy to see Sporter actually hit it with a bit more authority. None of this soft tapping sort of stuff that he's done in the past. Just hit it with a bit more authority, sent the keeper the wrong way. Give him a bit of morale boosting. I didn't think he was too bad, but it was an important goal for him just to, get that goal in his bag, feel the love from the fans as well and his teammates.
I want to hear both of your thoughts around, and going back to the style of play we had. And Sturge, I think you made a great point in terms of starting 11. That to me, it does feel like probably the closest we're going to get to best starting 11 based on form to date. But I feel like we're not cohesive as a team. And I said that for the game against Maccabi. Even against Atromitos, we're not playing well as a team. And I still feel like that the team's trying to work each other out, or maybe trying to work out Ivan's system or style of play, or what the way he wants them to play. And again, watching the game, I was frustrated, and I was sort of like questioning Ivan and his strategy and the team, and like, it's not right. But then I'm thinking, it's still early October, a number of new players. Do we need to give him a bit more time to gel?
100%.
Do it, like the fact that we're even debating what the starting 11 is across a number of positions, to me suggests that we're still a fair way off in getting a settled team. So initially I'm like concerned because we're not playing well, but when I think of it that way, if this team does settle and Ivan gets them humming, this could be an absolutely special team, because we've got some really good players that we've signed. There's, in terms of the your Juricics, your Arauz, two centre backs. You got Bayanidi coming on, and I'm like, oh, okay. Thinking about it, I think this because there's a lot of potential here.
What I'm confused about,
I'm with you.
What I'm confused about is we signed quite a few new midfielders, but it hasn't been that cohesive. That they're very tired though. I would have not started Vilena for this. I think he got tired. You can see he was gassed. I would have seen Seren for this game. But yeah, I think our midfield was just overrun. I think fatigue must have played a part, especially that role Vilena plays. He's been playing week in, week out, almost 90 minutes, and pretty much fatigued this whole period, just the amount of games and the demand on his role. But it was strange because we got overrun. Our midfield was overrun, and I think a lot of it's got to do with fatigue. So you got Vilena there that's tired, like he's just not being able to move. You got Ruben there as well, who got the start. Not the most quickest player, so defensively he's gonna play smart and defend smart, but when the team is like full pressing, full attacking, he's not gonna be the guy that is gonna chase down everything. So you need more workhorses, more machines in there. Like, Anaral, we probably would have seen a little bit of a different style game with him if he was in that defensive mid, but yeah, we just looked overrun, and that second goal was a blessing because it just came from their own mistake. Juricic was smart to get that loose ball and find Palacios. Once again, we take a lead. We start off so brightly. We take the lead, and we just fall apart. I just don't understand what happens.
Yeah, see, I still think we don't have to panic. I think Panatha's on the right track. Like we said it a week or two ago, like, is the league gone? But now the international break's a good time to take stock. Like this could be a really special season. We're nowhere near the finished article. Nowhere. Emphasize it with capitals. Nowhere near the finished article. We're going to get better. We're already top of our Europa League group. We're only 3 points off top of the league domestically, who we then play after the international break. Win that, we go first. It could be a special season. You don't know yet. Let me put this into context as well. I've been harping on in recent weeks about the results in the corresponding fixtures last season. We're actually a point better off this season relative to last season against the teams that we faced home and away. Last season against those same teams in the 7 fixtures in the league, we scored a grand total of 7 goals. This season, in the same fixtures, 21 goals.
Yeah.
An extra 14 goals.
Yeah.
And that's because of the fullback assists, left back, right back. Zuri sits. When we first signed him, I was a bit critical because he was over 30, coming off a pretty quiet season in Italy, thinking, is this guy going to take us to the next level? But as soon as I laid eyes on him, that first game against Dnipro, scored that bomb goal, I was like, this is the guy for us. And we're seeing it now. He's got an eye for goal. He's getting amongst the goals. He's contributing. Bernard centrally, big blessing in having a third striker. Come on, not that we can really talk about him in any detail, but having just an extra option for the league, Yeremiev, that also helps as well. To score, and again, nowhere near the finished article, to score 21 goals is sensational.
Yeah, we could, and before we talk about the second half, we can talk about, yeah, you're right, in the 21 goals. I think we've got the second best attack behind Olympiacos. They've got 22.
And they've only had the one derby.
And
We've had two.
And Panathinaikos really last season wasn't. We almost had the half amount of goals that we scored last season. I think we scored a total of like 48 or so last season, and we're already almost halfway on 21. So that's saying about our goals. We've got the equal second best defense. Olympiacos has conceded only 2. We've conceded 5. I think we're equal with Ike on that front. We're equal with Park. Sorry, I was just checking the ladder to make sure that I've got the correct facts there. So, and both of us conceded 2 goals against each other. So, talks a bit of volume there about where we're at the moment in the season. But yeah, I think personally, right before we talk about second half, we need to address this 1-0 and then falling asleep.
Again, I can't explain other than we seem to lack a clear role for every player at what point and what they do and where on a pitch at a certain point in time. I could be way off the mark in terms of my assessment, but if I look at the Atromitos game, I think it's more individual class and talent that's coming through in getting those goals and winning games for us. And also reflecting on that in terms of the games we've had won, it seems to be more certain players stepping up and winning the games for us rather than winning it as a team and the team doing it cohesively. Probably the best game, we talk about Maccabi being the worst game I've seen. So this season so far, the Villarreal games were the best game I've seen in terms of how we played as a team. It was only, only a 2-0. 2-0 is a decent scoreline against a quality team. But the way we played is probably what I enjoyed the most.
Yeah, you're right on that. I do 100% agree with that. I think, and I put this on a tweet once. I think we lack a leader on the field. I really believe we lack a leader, someone vocal, like someone to fire up the team, wake them up, scream at them. I don't think Bart is that guy that is pushing the players to do better. Someone I think Kurbelis did that role very well, especially in that midfield role. He was very vocal. I think we're missing that, someone to just wake up the troops. Come on, fire up.
Zeka?
And we'll get to Zeka as well. So we saw Aral replace Yedvay. Aral played that centre back, which was quite interesting. I think he's got that in his arsenal as well to play the centre back. So it's a good thing to have. Did he start at centre back?
No.
He came on the second half. Yeah.
No.
Came on second half. We saw the introduction of Zeka as well, which big fanfare for him. The crowd really appreciated his return. It was his his return to the Greek league after a long time away.
6 years.
Yeah, he got the armband. He
didn't want it.
He didn't want it, and I think that was a good thing. He didn't want it. For me, I think he understood he didn't really deserve it. It should have stuck with was it Bart? But fair play, a lot of love and a lot of respect. Then before we talk about the rest of the game, he did the most unleadership thing. A Zeka that we've probably known to remember just got himself sent off stupidly. I don't think it was necessary, especially that late in the game. But we'll talk about Zeka very soon. But the 4-0, bit of a
Fluke.
from Atromitos. It was just like a pinball machine where it was a loose back pass picked up by Sporter, and Sporter could have done the natural thing that strikers do, just be very selfish and try and score that. But he knew he was closed. Like the way the Atromitos keeper was positioned, you watch that goal, Sporter did the most high IQ thing I've seen him do. Just laid that back to Juricic, who scuffed his shot. I think he got like a lucky deflection. Yeah, he got a lucky deflection off the keeper, and he just trickled over the line. So that's all. Full props to Sporter for that. Not being selfish and just that having that vision to score that. And then 5-0 happened with the cross from Vayanidis to Palacios in the back corner. Looped over the keeper because the keeper just came rushing. It wasn't going in. Lucky Jeremejeff was there to get his second goal in 2 games with the best, as Panathafan, the best goal to minute ratio in Europe. So Jeremejeff has 2 in 2.
He's become my favorite player. His goal scoring record can't be beat.
Marcus Berg.
That second half was
the new Marcus Berg.
That
He's
second
got a
half,
better ratio than Berg.
that second half was cruise control. It was just, but then the game was over. So it was, we saw some players returning from injury, like Vainidis getting a bit more minutes, the return of Zeka. And what did you guys think of Zeka?
Oh, great to see him get the armband. And I said to you guys, like just before we jumped on, I wasn't so sure it was a red. Like obviously it's a foul, no doubt about it. It's definitely a yellow minimum as well. It's a yellow. He's asking for it, as you said. No need for it. Stupid, but no malice or anything. He's asking for it. He got it wrong. He got it wrong. I thought it was on the harsh side though for a red, considering he just 15 minutes on the pitch.
Yeah,
It's not like he was a recurring offender or anything.
No, look at. I can't argue the red. I mean, as much as you could probably
was asking
maybe a yellow, but the reality is studs up at his thigh, nowhere near the ball. If you connected properly, that would have caused some damage. So, I can't excuse it, unfortunately. And it's a shame, right? Because he's the cleanest player that's probably played for us many years. So very unusual.
It was for me, it was dumb. And I think he gave the referee no option really as an equalizer to send off one of our players to just say, as an equalizer. But for me, I think it was the correct decision. It was just dumb.
What do you think of his play though? I mean, he's only on for a short period of time, but he did get involved a little bit in the play. And I don't know, maybe I was got rose-colored glasses on, but I thought a couple of times he actually looked like he was moving it well around the pitch and making a positive contribution.
Yeah, and I think it comes back to, so he was obviously fired up for his return, but he's the kind of leader in Curbeli's absence that we need. Someone that's going to be vocal. He's very vocal. He's very passionate for the jersey. So he's probably that vocal person that we need on the field, and I think that's why he's very loved and respected. But he had a positive impact. Like, he's been away for quite a bit, so this was his moment to shine. Unfortunately, the few good touches that he had, he just let himself down mentally with that brain snap. That's a brain snap, and can't excuse that.
The major positive though in all this, and granted, as you said, it was a training run the second half, 2 goals, opportunistic goals that we're not going to get against even the mid-table sides in the division. Let's not kid ourselves. Atromitos are where they are for a reason, because they're just woeful. But the big positive in all this, we won 5-0 with rotating. Lodigin, he's a great backup keeper for where we are. We said this before, brilliant. We're seeing Yeremejeff come on, Zeka come on. We're rotating and getting these results. We're getting into a good habit of Panathinaikos 5-0, Volos 3-0, Asteras 4-1, Atromitos 5-0. Very good habit to get in against these smaller sides, because these are the Geles that cost us last season Yonikos, Asteras, Orfi.
Yeah,
This is what we had to rectify.
my only thing is, and lucky it didn't bite us in the ass. And against a team like this, I was just surprised to see no Sideras, Fike, just one of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
didn't have
At
a
least on the bench.
we didn't have a natural
Yeah.
centre back, and against a team like Atromitos, who's very lowly, I don't think there was too much risk in having one of those guys sit on the bench just in case something happens to Bart, who's a bit injury prone. We saw Yedvay get subbed, but at 3-4-0 at that game, that's when you can introduce, say, a Sideras, very low risk. Just get him minutes, just see what he's about, especially in the league game that it's comfortable. We're versing 10 players against a team that looks likely to get relegated. Like,
That's a good call. Good call.
it was, yeah, I think we've seen it a couple of weeks in a row. We didn't have a centre back in the bench, and lucky it didn't bite us. We're lucky it didn't bite us, but I'd like to see Sideras or Fike, just one of them to just get that call up, just sit on the bench, because they're getting the bench for Europa League, which is, he's calling them up because I think you get 9 players on the bench there. But yeah, just strange not to just get one of them in.
Agree. 100% agree.
And I think
us or Fikai, it would have been perfect considering the injuries we've had. But that's Ivan, though. He can be very stubborn in setting his ways as well.
yeah, and I think what made me glad was Ivan did tinker the formation by bringing 40 on.
In terms of you can tinker it in that way, but it's still very predictable. And look, it's not a bad. Sounds like I'm being critical of it, but it's not a bad thing as well when is a proven formula sticks to it.
Yeah,
but when, like the Maccabi game, when you see things aren't going well at all, and just to continue persisting with what you got, that's where you go, okay, no, that doesn't make sense.
yeah. So 5-0. Been a long time since we've seen this many goals for us, so it's obviously a joy to watch. Even though I don't still think we're playing well against these teams. 5-0 doesn't reflect that scoreline. It was cruisy only because penalty, blunder, 2 blunders. It was just
Rebound.
Yeah, we got to get better because the next game will be about Olympiacos. Just before we talk about the preview there, we did have a question, I think a couple of weeks ago. What's the role of Zeka? Because we hadn't seen him prior to this game. We saw him at this game, but I think overall, personally, I don't think we're going to see Zeka too many times this season. I think he's more of a I don't want to describe it as a charity signing, but I think it's more of a just as a respect to him to finish his career at us. I think offer the on and off the field leadership that we've got a void there from Gurbelis. I don't think we've got proper leadership from a couple of the other senior players. We might see him in a derby or two, especially if we need that midfield or general in the middle. Need to bring a player like that on. But sadly, I don't think we're going to see too much of him. I don't see him having an impact for us at his age. I think coming from those 2 big injuries, I just personally don't see it.
It's just going to be in these games against these lowly sides because he's not on the European list. So we can't see him there for starters in the group stage. So it's just going to be these games. Who else was in that European? There was Klein, Hazler, Verbitz, and Zeka, and someone else. Sokai, Jeremeyev as well.
Jeremeyev as well, yeah.
Yeah. So they're the guys we're not going to see at all in Europe.
Yeah, I didn't mind Verbic. I think his attitude. So he scored the goal against Panathafan
Sterg, wasn't it?
Or was it Astera? Sorry.
That cross, and he hit it into the roof of the net.
Yeah. I think for me, I was critical of him because I felt he had a bad attitude in that game. This game, attitude had changed. I saw a different kind of attitude, and he played not too bad. I think he was unlucky not to get a couple of fouls. I think the referee not giving that penalty, you saw those same kind of pushes that Atromitos got away with, especially on Verbic, and he started getting frustrated, but at the not receiving the calls. I don't think he seemed too frustrated in that match himself. There was a bit more positive that I saw from his gameplay. I think he played okay. Tried his best. Nothing magical, nothing like threading, but he did not too bad.
I agree. Definitely.
All right, that's going to bring us now to what we said. So we got the international break. So we got a few players away. Good time for the most of the squad to recharge. Derby in 2 weeks or so, 2-3 weeks. Can't even get my calendar days right with all these games coming up. I think this is going to be a true test. Really, we've had 2 derbies, home derbies, where 1 point out of 6. This one is our first derby away, and it is the eternal enemy, the eternal derby against Olympiacos. They're in form. They're really in form in the league. Europe, not so much. I think we're seeing what they generally do in Europe, but in the league, they're actually looking very good for a Greek league team. This is the best team in a while. I'd say better than the last 3-4 years that they've got in their team. 22 goals, 2 conceded. It's at Karaiskaki, and we generally, I think we've got a very low win rate. It's ridiculously low win rate that we've got there. How you guys seeing that derby? What do you guys think?
They can be got at. Defensively, they can be got at. I'm not worried about our attack. Again, it's going to hinge on how Jovanovic sets us up, but I'm not worried about us going forward in this game, in the final third. If they play Freire, however you say it, Retsos, Doi, they do not scare me in the slightest. Of course, Podence, Fortunis, El Kabi, they're danger men down the other end of the pitch, but they can be got at defensively. And that's what we've got to try and expose that weakness.
But defensively, they've only scored. They've only conceded 2.
Who have they played? They've played Gifisia. They've played Atromitos. They've Panseraikos. They've only had Ike away. That's it.
Yep. And I think a couple of games are probably not too dissimilar to our big wins, where they've scored lots of goals, but weren't exactly playing great football.
Well,
for me, their true colours are coming out in Europe, where you've got the other 3 Greek clubs topping their group, and then there's them.
In true Olympiacos style.
Yeah, exactly.
In struggle in Europe.
Struggle in Europe. And even for the league, as we saw with our own eyes, we copped it last season. The league is not won in October. If we can, even in January, February, if we can stay 3, 5, 6 points away from the top spot, give it our all in Europe, because the group stage is only 6 games long. So there's no margin for much less margin for error there. Give it our all in Europe. Just stay as close as possible until the playoffs come around, the top of the table, and see what we can do in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're coming off a good win away against Yanina. They're traditionally a tricky place for any of the big teams to go to. And you are right, Nick. I think their attacking four is pretty dangerous.
Attacking that.
Okabi is a good striker for them. Fortunis can create from nothing. He's a good player. Podence, he's a class player, as much as, he's come from the Premier League, where he was at Wolves. He's come back to Olympiacos on loan. He's still a quality player, and they're going to rely on, especially those 3. Biel, I think there's a little bit too much hype from him. We saw nothing from him last season, and I hope it doesn't bite me in the ass this season, but I think he's been a little bit disappointing. Obviously, if Sotiri starts that little twerp, hopefully we just rough him up a bit. And you're right. Their defense is not, if you look at names, not exactly great. Rodinei,
he's a good player.
he's dirty. He's a very dirty player, so expect him to go in rough. I think he got was it red last season with us? Very very dirty. That Ortega guy that they've got, the left is not too bad. I kind of think he's pretty solid for them. But
Rodney, from what I've seen, has been inconsistent. Like he's capable, got the ability, but not always delivering. From the little I know, but you know what? It's a derby game,
exactly.
and I've got every reason to believe we can pull off a win. Yeah, it's bloody hard, and the odds are definitely against us. But if Ivan sets up this team right, anything's possible. If Palacios has a blinder, and I that's probably one player comes to mind immediately. If it was out of the starting 11, who I'd want to start against Olympiacos, I'd pick Palacios before anyone. Maybe Birignoli as well, but
I'd say,
yeah.
I'd have to throw Arau in as well. This game has his name written all over it. I wouldn't even look at Ruben. I'd go Arau straight away.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think Zuri sits for me to really guide him.
Yeah, that's a good call.
And you probably will see Villena in that midfield again to disrupt any play from Sotiri and Kamara, I think, who's their other center defensive mid, or that other central mid. So you'll see Villena do the job, just really putting the pressure, try and put pressure, not give him too much time on the ball.
So the one player that probably I've got a question mark over is Yidbay. I can't say he was bad in the last couple of games. He's kept a clean sheet against both Maccabi and Atromitos, but I can't say that he has absolutely cemented his spot either. And I want to see a bit more of Palmer Brown. He's a left footer, isn't he, from memory?
Yeah. Would you start Palmer Brown in this though?
No.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't either.
No. You'd have to go Yedvay. He's played too many big games already. For us in a short period of time he's been with us.
And Yedway's got that experience as well. He's traded in Italy, Russia, I think Germany as well. So you'd have to stick with Yedway at this point. I think you're right. He hasn't done anything special, but you don't expect that from defenders either. I've noticed he's more of a ball-playing defender, more better on the ball rather than his defensive attributes.
There's been just a couple of little incidents though where I'm like, I expected better from a defender.
Yeah.
I think it was one that comes to mind against Maccabi where he went to header the ball as a clearance and he just completely missed it and it fell to the Maccabi player who had a shot at goal. And I was like, a player of his class and experience would have expected better.
I think his weakness is the ball in the air. I've seen it many times. I think Dimpro, there was the header. There was from that the Maccabi. He's had a few chances headers and hasn't done well, especially in that last header of the game where I think he should have got that on target against Maccabi. So you're right. I think his aerial game is his weakness, and just got to be careful of that, especially with the Olympiacos, especially like what Fortunis can do.
So in terms of starting 11 against Olympiacos, I think if we continue, so we all agree Palacios on the right.
Yeah.
Arau as a defensive mid. I mean, obviously Birignoli in goal, Yedvay, Schenkenfeld as centre backs.
Yeah.
Right back.
I don't know.
As much as I love Vayanidis,
I don't know.
I really think he's going to stick with Kotsiras for this game.
I don't blame him. Him if he does that.
I got a feeling he's going to stick.
Head experience, defensive solidity recently.
Yep.
I think Vayanidis is great. He is no doubt the future of the club in that right back, and probably could do a little bit more as well. But I think the safe option, and just from a cooler head as well, would be Kotsiras.
And then on the left,
I'd go Mladenovic.
I would want to see Mladenovic. I definitely would like to see Mladenovic. Derby, it's just which Mladenovic are we going to see?
but right now, with the way Juanca has been playing of late,
You can't.
I'd be willing to take the risk with Mladenovic.
Yeah, you can't trust one guard recently, and I think we said this earlier on when we in one of the earlier episodes where if you have a scenario like this in an away derby, Koitsiras more defense minded can sit back, do the basics. It can defend. That allows the other fullback, now in this case Mladenovic, to bomb on.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah, I want Mladenovic. Don't get me wrong. I'd rather, especially what we're witnessing the last few games.
It's
I'd
only the midfield, like the game's gonna hinge on that midfield. Arao, as you boys touched on, probably Villena in there as well, and Bernard. I'd say,
So Bernard is a 10?
yeah, and Zuric's probably to come on off the bench then.
Yeah, I don't want to see the Bernard experiment on the left wing.
Oh, Mancini, but Palacios wingers.
You'd hope, but we haven't seen that.
Then up front, Ioannidis.
Yeah, you haven't
So
seen.
I'm not sure about starting Bernard as a 10. I mean, he's been good so far this season in that position, so I wouldn't be disappointed to see it. But Juricic in this sort of game may be a bit of a key.
Yeah, for sure.
Off a 2-goal and assist game, you'd probably want to reward that form. Okay, it's Atromitos, but you still got to reward that form. He was excellent.
He's on what? We've only played 7 games in the league, and he's on 3 goals already.
Against
bomb goal against Stake.
So, and that's the thing. A goal like that against Olympiacos away could be absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
So that's our starting 11. I think we're all in agreement on that.
Yeah. Like I said, and it's going to depend on which 10 we go with as well. I think I'm not going to give any predictions to this game. We don't historically have a good away record. I'm not willing to give a prediction. I'm obviously always hoping for a win. You always take a draw in these kind of games as well, especially away. You'd always take a draw.
Yeah.
We're 3 points behind them in the league, so a win will shatter their confidence. I think a win will shatter Olympiacos' confidence in the sense that they're riding a bit on they're invisible at the moment, in the sense that they're doing very well. No one really has come close to beating them, so they'd be feeling good about themselves. But we beat them away. That's going to put a real dent in their confidence as well.
I just look forward to Yeremeyev scoring in the 90th minute again.
A winner.
Keep that ratio up.
Just get subbed on in the 90th as well. Score 1 minute later just for that ratio.
Just for the ratio.
But yeah, you guys eager to put any predictions, anything like on, or no, staying away?
1-1.
Yeah, I'm probably... My heart says 3-0 away, but no. Let's be realistic here. No, I agree. It's probably a draw.
Nothing wrong with a draw either. The pressure, the onus is going to be on them to attack this game instead of us.
I agree.
Yeah, we're not chasing the game like last season in the playoffs. But yeah, the last one we played there was in the playoffs, and it was in the empty stadium as well. And I felt that was a disappointing showing. I don't even think Maccabi was the most disappointing showing under Jova. It has to be the Olympiacos game.
But that was COVID impacted though.
COVID, yeah. COVID. We had our hearts ripped out of us.
I don't know. There was a lot of things wrong in that game. I don't know if we can fully blame COVID, but yeah, I think that was one of our worst performances. But we're expecting a tough game, no doubt. This is going to be one of the best Olympiacos sides that we've versed in a few years, and they're probably versing the best Panathinaikos team in a long time as well. So on paper, especially, if we can play to our potential, it'll be an interesting derby.
Perfect opportunity though for me to remind both of you of a game a few years ago as a derby at Karaiskaki where Olympiacos was undefeated that season, and if they beat us in that home game, they would have won the championship. That's how good a season they were having. And we were clearly not the better team on paper, and yet we beat them 3-0.
I remember.
Berg, Karelis, and Media Bed.
Media Bed scored. I think it was Pranjic scored the second.
Was it Pranjic? It was Pranjic.
First, sorry,
not Karelis.
Abed scored the third, and he did the arrow to the crowd.
The arrow, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that was a good Olympiacos team back then too.
They beat him, wasn't it? Man United a few days earlier. They beat him.
You're right. Yes, good memory.
So, yeah, I think now that brings us on to just a question as well from on Twitter. We had a question from your namesake, Nick. So we had a question from Nick.
Fellow Dragon supporter.
Not a good team. Do you guys see a future in Bilal for our club or at our club? Yes, I do. He's only 19. He's getting the experience at the B team. I think that's the natural step for him to take. I don't think he's exactly lighting the world on fire in the B team at the moment. But once again, he's 19. He's versing mature men. It's not going to be easy for him. It's good to though see him get that start, get those minutes and development. Hopefully, Yova's really keeping an eye on him, seeing what he's like, on and off the field, and worthy of the call up. He was, I think, on the bench in the Europa game as well, for Maccabi. I really don't see him playing any games for the senior team this season at all. Even if we're versing any cup games, I don't really see him being used for that. I think we might see something a little bit more next year. But at the moment, he's not. He won't be in the squad in Yova's plans. He'll probably be used here and there to be called on the bench, especially in the European games. Get that experience, just that travel, the whole mateship, and then Yova keep an eye on his development. To say we see a future at 19, yeah, definitely. He's got a lot of years left ahead of him. He's just got to be patient as well. You can't be one of those guys like we've seen Zagaritis, all those guys just jump ship at any opportunity. It's got to be worthwhile that you're obviously starting, playing, and in a good mindset. So, yes, I do see a future. He's just got to be patient. He's young. What about you guys?
Only question mark is Jovanovic's reluctance to rely on the youth. That's all I'll say on that.
Yep.
Do we have?
I agree.
Do we have good youth though that can challenge? I think
not really.
We've got Sideras, we've got Fike, who they've both signed extensions. There was talks of that prospect Athanasakopoulos.
Yeah.
He hasn't really come through. He hasn't even threatened to even make.
It's the weakest it's been, in a long, long time.
Yeah.
Traditionally, we've always been strong in that department.
So yeah, I think we signed the winger as well to an extension. Can't remember too clearly on it. It's escaping my head, but
is it Carlos Scami or can't remember now exactly.
Yeah, I can't remember which one, but look, there's not much youth coming up, so I can see why Yova isn't really, but then again, in the defense where we've been short, he probably should have called one of them up. But yeah.
I can't. I think Sturge, you make some very good, strong, valid points, but I think part of the problem is that us as fans, we probably don't have the patience either. So we've got 3 established strikers, and yet you may recall in one of our podcasts at the start of the season, we're still questioning whether we needed to sign a gun striker.
Yep.
And I'll be the first to say that I would love to have seen us sign a big bum type of Metagrafi striker that would go, wow, let's go to the airport because it's such a great name. And I think that I can't see us Spora, Ioannidis, and Yeremayev, they've got contracts and still for next season as well, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yeah.
They're not. I can't see any one of those three going anywhere unless Ioannidis gets a good offer to go somewhere else. And even then, if we get money from a signing from him, I'm sure we'll go after some big name player. And for that reason, I struggle to see Bilal getting playing time for the next 2 years. And at that point, he'd be 21. And you've got to wonder, well, what point is he going to say, well, enough's enough, I'm going to try my luck somewhere else? It depends on his patience as a player, how long he's willing to stick around.
Yeah, I agree with the patience, but I don't see Jeremejeff staying until after this year. He recently did change management in terms of sports agencies, so could be him trying to force a bit of a move as well in the future if he's not really getting that game time, that starting time that he believes he deserves. So that will be one player interesting to watch. What happens over the winter transfer? That if he's not doesn't force a move by winter, I'd say watch out in that summer space. Can see him making an exit.
Very cool.
And then unfortunately, the first EuroLeague game did come up against our eternal enemies again. We lost 6 days prior in the Super Cup, the Greek Super Cup. A bit of change of kind of results, but we did still get the loss in overtime. We led by quite a bit at one stage. I think up 7 at halftime, and then we kind of faltered. I think we had an opportunity at the buzzer beater. Didn't get to see too much of the match. Just had obviously just family and the little one. So I didn't get an opportunity to see too much of it. But just reading a lot of the pieces, there was a lot more. There was a lot of change from that Super Cup and a lot more positives. The team doesn't look like it's fully gelled yet. It's looking to build nicely. A lot of optimism. Panathafan, I think you said you watched the fair bit or extended highlights.
Yeah. So I watched extended highlights, which shows all the plays of the game and cuts out all the bits in between. So because there's only so many times we can wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning for these European games.
After the morning after the European game, it's definitely taking a toll.
Been getting hard, hasn't it?
Oh, look at it. Yeah, it's you got the bags under the eyes by the end of the week. But I did watch the extended highlights, and great to see that we were right in it right to the end. And there was a couple of individual errors as well, which maybe cost us in terms of getting to a win. But putting that to one side, I think you can see Ataman's trying to get the style of play that he wants with his team. Our defense is still big question mark. Our perimeter defense in particular, because Olympiacos getting a lot of threes in, particularly in that second half with wide open threes. And you got to sort of question, well, what's going on there? Is it because our players are lacking, or just in terms of the players that don't know how to position themselves yet? That's to be seen over the next few games at least. But whole new team, first competitive game. We could have won it and probably should have won it, one may argue. So I'm not going to complain. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Loss, even though it's against our eternal enemy. Against an Owaka was absolutely rocking by the looks of it.
Yeah, I read into it as well. These basketball experts on Twitter, they did have Olympiacos in their power rankings as third and us as fourth. So I think there's a lot of optimism. Like, I hate losing against them. By all means, I really hate losing against them. So I try and take a positive that it's building something so nicely, but we still lost. We've got them again soon in the league within this month. So again, it's something that we can look forward. Hopefully by then we're actually, all cylinders firing.
And we're still, there's players coming off injury that they're not quite fresh yet as well. And we still potentially got one signing to make for the season. I think it's Mikhail Yuk, the Ukrainian with Boston Celtics. It doesn't look like he's going to come through. So it remains to be seen if we're going to still fill that one more spot, and with who. So long season ahead. I'm certainly not giving up hope of going Final Four, although I'm probably being optimistic. But at the very least, should be playoffs.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And the boys did play again. They backed it up a couple of days after. So this morning they played Marusi, pretty much cruise control, 82-71, 11-point game. But that final quarter, the Pole players, they all rested pretty much the Pole players. Marusi outscored us 26-13. So in that sense, so you can kind of see how the game went in terms of especially those first three quarters. So good rebound win to opening up the league season with the win. Marusi, who's a mainstay in that Greek basketball, never really threatening, but they're a mainstay in there. So good start for the season.
And the team's got some good young Greek talent. Is it Samandurov?
Yeah,
the tall boy. I mean, there's talk of him being an NBA prospect in the future. What's his name? The forward as well. Is it Manzukos? That is playing with the youth team, the ethnic youth team.
Manzukas,
sorry. Talented player as well. Good to see them get a bit more minutes going into it, and Kostan Nokumbo and Kalaizaki as well. In games against Marusi, they're getting more minutes too. So building up that young Greek core, is a good thing.
Yeah, and when you look at the minute breakdown, the players that a bit more fringe got starts. So Cole Guy, new recruit. I kind of liked him that we got that pickup, but he got quite a few minutes. Didn't do a lot offensively, but played 30 minutes. You look at Manzukas, who you mentioned, young kid, got quite a few minutes, scored a few points. Vildoza, Lesort, who are meant to be our two sort of star signings, get quite a few minutes. Lucas only played 6 minutes, just did his job. So yeah, it was really good to see that effort. I think I was a bit more disappointed on Jerry and Grant. I think I had quite a big expectation from him for my NBA player. He didn't even get a bucket today. So, but he's a good player. So I don't expect him to falter too much. But yeah. About my background, I've got Uzunidis, who fantastic servant for the club. It is his birthday. I do have a story about Uzunidis. I may have mentioned it before, where I got to meet him after the Platania game back in 2017 in Kanya after we drew 1-1. Long story short, he got me in past security. I got to meet him, took photos with him and a few of the boys from the team. So, including Zeka. So, so full props to Uzunidis. Happy birthday. He's a champion of a guy. Much love servant. And as Kut said, if he was there on the pitch against Ajax in the home semi-final, the second leg, we would have beaten Ajax, or we would have held on against Ajax. So,
yes.
Champion. Anything you guys want to add? Any stories?
Before my time, that 96 Ajax one, I remember you had mentioned it, not on the podcast, but you'd mentioned it to us at Kanya when you'd met him. I remember watching that game. It was a Monday morning, early hours of Monday morning. We took the lead, and that was when things were really, really bad. That was a month or so later, Lafuzos announced he's pulled the plug on any investment. That was the first game without Marcus Berg.
Yeah, it was a going to the game, gate 13, Kanya pulled out of going to the game because they were charging exorbitant ticket prices for the away fans. So there was still a small section of us there, and it was a little bit intimidating. There was you got the Cretans there, you got these so many riot police just surrounding us just so to protect us. And I just see this older Greek guy, maybe in his 50s, full tattered up, just going off at him in a Panathinaikos jersey, just going off at the Kanya fans and the Kanya players. I was just laughing so much. Someone one of my friends here from Sydney watched the game, and he took a screenshot and saw me in the crowd. Especially when we scored the goal, he's got me like just celebrating the goal. So it was quite the experience. That game. So good memories, but yeah, that team was the
Tragic.
game 1-1. Yeah, that was part of the dark times, and a lot of the fans will still say under his current ownership it's dark times, but we've experienced worse, especially what we had on the field. So
Yeah.
Sturgis, brilliant story and great experience. The fact that you had your friend watching the game and seeing you in the crowd celebrating a goal, it's something definitely a good story to share.
I'll locate that picture and I'll share it on Twitter under the Pile Fans International as well, just for context. But yeah, as the game grew on, more fans started sitting with us. So it started off with I remember it was about 15, 20 of us there, and then it just, as the game went on, it was just growing in numbers.
The closest I can come to matching that story, which I can't match it because it's a great story, is many year ago. It would have been about 15 years ago when Olusadebe was still our striker. We were at Leo Foro, and I was with my wife, and we're behind the goals. And this is actually before we had kids. And my wife had the camera, and we were at the Kangila, and she was taking photos of the players every time the ball was at our end, where our strikers end. And even the fans around us were saying to the players, Ella, come close to the goal so we can take more photos of you, because the wife's taking photos, you have to flash and everything. And I watched the replay or the highlights that night after the game. And every time the ball was out and was trying to score goals, you just see this camera flashing constantly in the crowd. And we can't see us, but that was obviously me going, oh, that's us. Bloody hell, though. It was 0-0, didn't score a goal, and I wonder whether our flash was putting the players off at the same time.
Yeah, that was a rough trip for Panathinaikos, because we had played Europe and we played earlier, I think the week before we played Atletico Bilbao in Europe. So up 2-0, we lost 3-2 at home, and I was there for that game. Then I went to Crete. I watched the return leg, and then watched them play a few days later against Platania. So we're a bit tired, but yeah, the team just got progressively worse at that point. And Atletico Bilbao weren't at their strongest, so we knew it was going to be a tough test, but yeah, that was disappointing. We took the 2-0 lead. I think scored. I just can't remember who scored the first, but yeah, downhill from there.
Good memories, though, to be able to be there at that time.
Yeah. It was a trip that I won't forget in terms of the stories watching Panathinaikos. Just like what I saw in Gate 13, just like people illegally selling beers behind through the gates in front of police and security who are doing nothing. They're just allowing like illegal sell beers, like €1 for a can of beer. So it was just hilarious.
Greece at its finest as well.
All right, boys. International break, so whilst we'll probably wake up to watch Greece, we won't still get that sleep. We got to wish, especially 40, who may or may not get game time. Obviously, hope that Greece does well as well. And obviously our other boys, Slovenian, Serbian boys that will be on international duty, just do well for their respective countries. But yeah, it's gonna be a good time for the ball players to just recharge and then focus on the derby. I think they need that, and we won't be doing a podcast until probably after the derby. So, or there won't be a Pile Fans International podcast until after the derby. So, do you guys want to say last piece before we call it?
Just finally, you mentioned Ioannidis for the Ethniki. My 2 cents. Enough with the tried and tested, because they've done really chance after chance. But Pavlidis is killing it domestically. Does nothing for the ethnic. I'd love to see Forty get a start.
I feel Dulvikas should be getting that.
Well, yeah, he should be called up. Absolutely.
Poyet is, in a nice way, a clown.
Yeah,
Just
he is.
very, very nicely. We got from Van Schip to Poyet. The discussion for the Hellas Footy podcast. You can pass on my message.
I will.
Poyet
I
is
shared by pretty much all there as well.
yeah, real head scratcher. But yeah, it's always great chatting with you boys. So we'll obviously continue our chats in our private messages. Panathafan, any last words?
No, look, love the chat as always. And I think it's some great discussion points today. I look forward to our next podcast reviewing, hopefully, our win against Olympiacos at the very least. And look, met the Nikki with the Ethniki, but at the same time, I hope our boys come back healthy as well.
Yeah, we can't afford any more injuries. We're coming to a pretty crucial period. So Rennes, Olympiacos, Rennes, and then what comes after that. So, as you said, Metiniki everywhere.
Indeed.
Happy to talk to you boys. Take care.
All right.